Alright, today we're going to see if we can somewhat revive this battery. Motomaster, fairly cheap battery, nothing special about it. Failed in my Jeep Grand Cherokee, and we're going to see if we can get this thing going again somehow. I want to see if I can get this voltage reading. 12.05 volts, so it looks like there isn't a shorted cell as of yet, because they're 2 volts a cell. If you tested this and it wouldn't go above 8 or 10 volts, you'd most likely have a shorted cell. All I'm going to do is pop these caps off and add some distilled water and charge it and see how it goes. My luck with restoring batteries has not been great. Usually they last for about 3 months, but I have been aggressively charging them. This one I might try charging on a low current for a longer period of time and see what happens. It's not a deep cycle. This is your average car battery, so it might not be, it's easy to restore, but we'll see. Okay, so I got the caps off. Did not come off easy, quite hard. Damaged the battery even a little bit, which isn't a big deal. I can just put some silicone or something over that. Here's the cells. You probably can't see them very well. Let's see if I can get the flashlight here. Okay, so this one looks clean. This one looks really, really bad on the inside. This cell right here. One thing else I don't like about this battery, it felt kind of light when I lifted it. The battery stops here. This is the battery. All this is just spacer. So, don't like this Motomaster battery at all. Piece of crap. If this was all battery, this thing would be twice as powerful. Look how low. I don't know if I can, let's see if I can show you somehow. Alright, I'll use this piece of plastic. It's contaminated, but this battery's bad anyway, so let's see how far this goes down before I hit anything. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Right there. Look at that. That's where the cells start, right there. That is terrible. This battery's half the size of what it actually is. Well, I found out it doesn't need water. All the plates are in fact covered. It just has a bad cell. So we're going to charge this thing for a while and see what happens. So on the 2 amp setting, it immediately goes up to 13 volts. And I'm going to go to the 20 amp setting and see what happens. There's like no resistance in this battery. I'm only going to cook it at 20 amps like this for a few minutes just to see what happens on the inside. Immediately there's some bubbling happening there, a tiny bit there, quite a bit there, quite a bit there, quite a bit there, and quite a bit there. So this cell does seem to be the weakest point. Hardly bubbling at all. It's at 16.3 volts. So I'll see if we can recover this battery somehow. Alright, we're about 3 or 4 minutes in. Boiling off like crazy, boiling off like crazy, 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 crazy. Not boiling at all. This one here, that's the weak dead cell. So I gotta figure out a way to charge just that cell. So I got 2 screws going into the positive and negative leads of just this cell, and I'm going to attempt to charge it. We got 2 volts exactly, and I'm going to charge it using the 2 amp setting on this charger, and we're going to see how well this does on just this bad cell. Who knows, maybe this battery might not be totally done with yet. This is 12 volts going in at 2 amps. Let's see what the amp meter says. It actually went up. We're sitting at 8 volts at 2 amps. Wow. I wonder if that'll change if I put pressure on both of these. So I put a little bit more pressure on these, pushing down into the plates. We did drop a little. It seems to be bubbling a little bit inside. I don't know if you guys can see it. We'll see if this does anything at all. Looks like this cell is pretty shot. Seems to be the best I can get. It is boiling. And just that cell is boiling, so that's good because that is the bad cell. And we're gonna see how this goes. I'll leave this like this for a while. One thing I want to say when doing it this way, this is extremely dangerous, and I don't recommend doing this at all, because it is making gases in here that is extremely flammable, and if you arc these two screws together, that's going to create a spark and ignite them. And this is an enclosed battery, so that there is a chance that it could explode, or most likely what's going to happen, because this hole is so big, it's just going to shoot out the top like a blowhole. But it is it is dangerous. Excuse me. I think I inhaled some of this coming up a little bit or something. But this is the only way that I really know of charging this single cell without boiling off the others. I have no idea if this is going to come back. I don't think it will. I think the cell is probably cooked. It has some damage to the plates or something, I'm not sure. Could just be heavily sulfated, but I doubt it. Just because of this high voltage. This is, well, mind you, this isn't the actual voltage of the battery, because this is the voltage at the charging leads that run through this 14-foot 14 gauge cables. So actually, and these cables are warm, so I bet you I don't want to mess with this right now, because I don't want to let those touch together and have the hydrogen gas ignite and anything like that. So I'm just going to leave it the way it is. But I'm sure that the voltage is much less at these probes, these screws that I got going into the battery. And it doesn't seem to be going up in voltage, so it is taking a charge. So we'll see. I'll leave this on here for a couple hours and see how it progresses, and hopefully something good comes out of it. One more thing I wanted to show, so the battery's charging, it's bubbling a little bit. This is the voltage at these long leads. Now I'm going to shut this charger off and let's see what the voltage sits at the battery. 2.1-ish. So this signifies a battery sitting at just over 12 volts if all the cells are the same. So this is a very dead battery, and it needs a lot of charging. So I'm going to leave this on here for a few hours and come back and see what it's like. Well, this wasn't so good. See if I can get this to focus. Doesn't look like it, but it slowly ate away at this screwdriver. It is about, I guess with the chemical reaction and everything happening in there, just destroyed this screw. Within 15 minutes, ate about a 1/4 inch away. That cell is probably screwed no matter what, because I just put all this crap inside of it. But I'm going to continue with this. Just going to find something else to stick in it. Hopefully it won't get so destroyed. The screw seems to be doing okay, so I'm going to find another one of those. Got the new screw inside, keeping the two screws from hitting each other with this pen. That's just like a backup with this rubber piece in between. I was able to fish out the piece of that screw that disintegrated from the acid, and this is all that's left. So that's that, and here's the screw that it came off of. It doesn't even look like it ever came off of it, but it did. That's how much it ate off of it. This screw doesn't seem to have any coating or anything on it. It got destroyed almost like instantly, 15 minutes. This one here has some sort of coating. I think it's doing better, but I'm not sure. We'll find out. Anyways, I think the battery's actually going down in voltage. I'm not sure. Let's see. Let's shut the charger off. It's sitting at about the same voltage, so I don't know. It's not looking super promising. And back on charge. It is boiling in there, so it's a good sign, but I don't know. I'm not using the right type of metal going into this battery. It's getting eaten alive. I'm wondering maybe stainless steel would have worked, but that doesn't conduct very well with electricity, so who knows. Probably the best thing would have been some lead, like dowels almost going in, but I don't have those, so some screws are going to have to do, and I'm going to leave this like this for a bit longer. Alright, it's been going on for about 45 minutes. Total battery voltage with that single cell being charged is a little over 13 volts. I'm not going to put a load on it, not yet. Still sitting at 7.8 volts at this side of the cables. And then you go through 14 feet of 14, yeah, I think it's 14 gauge wire, either 14 or 12. Now we're going to shut the charger off and see what that cell is sitting at. See if it's improved. And it has. Ever so slightly. Very, very, very slowly. It is, like I said, 2 amps. Well, it's 2 amps at 12 volts, so it's probably more at the 2 volts when you put in this transformer at that high of a load. But it is going up. That is a good sign. And the battery voltage total is about 13 volts, so it looks like the other cells are charged fairly well. It's just this one weak cell, which is at about 2.1 volts, which is sad. Okay, so we're going to keep this up. So I'm going to turn it back to the 2 amp setting. Hop right back up. And it's boiling away again. It seems like it's going to boil off all the water, but I don't think it will. I have a feeling that my screws will disintegrate again. Oh, that one might have already disintegrated. Let me shut this off. And I want to check it. See if my screw has gone to pieces here. I don't think it has, actually. I'm trying to get this out of here without let's see here. Looks like it's alright. It's hard to do with one hand because I usually I'd pinch that and grab the screw and pull it out, but I think it's okay. So I just gotta get in the right spot again, right there. Put my weight on it. So it's digging into the lead plate, and as you can see, it looks like we're in there. Yep, you seem to be in there. Starting to bubble again, so it's good. Yeah, so these screws seem to hold up much better than what kind of screw did I use before? Where was it? Well, I don't know where the screw went, but that other screw was no good. So we're going to continue this and see if we can get that cell back up to snuff. So I'm starting to see an improvement already, but this is like right after being on charge. We're at 13.5 volts almost, well on charge. So I'm going to shut the charger on and off, and you can see the difference. Because with the charger off, it's just over 13 volts. Or just under, I mean. And with the charger on, so it's raising this cell by half a volt. So it's a 2-volt cell, so it's at 2.5 volts, which is overcharging it quite a bit, but it needs to be done. It is heavily sulfated, like I could even tell by looking at it. This one looks clean. That one looked corroded and dirty as can be. Clean, 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 clean. So, see if this helps. It might not. I'm experimenting. These screws might be disintegrating by the acid and completely destroying the cell with their little pieces of metal and chemicals and whatever. But so far, I took this off charge. Actually, I'll do it one more time. So, the cell itself, like this is, mind you, fresh off the charge for that single cell, but I'm going to put a 100 amp load on it, and let's see what happens. That's saying about 900 cranking amps, or 11 point some odd volts under 100 amp load, which is really good. And I'm going to do that test once more. And you can see the single cell, the voltage of it. You get with no glare. Here we go. So it is holding up. So I'm going to continue to charge it. So remember, this is the voltage at these leads. This goes through 14 feet of, or 12 feet of 14 gauge wire. This is the voltage at these leads. That's approximately 2.5 volts going into the battery, approximately. We're under 13 volts now because I drained a little bit of the power out of the rest of these cells. And yeah, this method seems to be working short term anyways. We'll see what actually happens. I wouldn't trust this battery in a car ever again, really. Maybe for like a hobby solar panel system, something that doesn't require 100% power all the time, something that if it failed it wouldn't be a big deal. Or even if you use it almost like a booster pack, bring some booster cables and keep this battery around just to boost vehicles or whatever. But I'm going to repair it and see what happens. So this is the last bit I'm going to do tonight. It's sitting at 16 volts. Charging the whole battery again. I got that cell, so you guys can't see the plate underneath. I can. It still looks dirtier. Some stuff is broken apart a bit. There's one main rail on this side, one main rail on this side that connects all these cells together. This one's still the dirtiest, but I want to see. At least it is boiling now with the rest of them at 16 volts. So that means it is at least close to charged. It probably could be charged for another quite a bit, but another one of my screws that I put in, not the big one that went on this side, this one was fine the whole time, but even the secondary one I put on this side again, it ate through and left pieces on top of that big main bar, and I took a magnet and I took all the pieces out. Seems to be working okay. Let's see what happens when I shut the charger right off. See what happens when I put a load on it. I put a 100 amp load on it, and I'm going to watch this one. 100 amp load is on. Amp load is still on. Holding 11.3 volts. Alright, just shut the load off because it was starting to glow. We're at 12.2 and rising. That is a good sign. I'm going to put it on a 20 amp charge again, just to get it back up quickly. We are not boiling quite yet. They're all bubbling just a little bit once in a blue moon. We're at 14.5. 6. It's quickly gaining back its power that I just drained out of it for a few seconds at 100 amps. This one is boiling, but like I said, it's still by far the dirtiest inside. Almost at 16 volts. All the cells are starting to boil again. I can literally see stuff floating around in this cell. Could be part of those screws, could be sulfation, all kinds of things, but there's stuff floating in that cell. Could be the positive plate. We are at 16 volts. I'll leave this like this just for a couple more minutes. And then I'm going to leave it at the 2 amp charge overnight, which only holds it at 13.5 volts, which is not much at all. 13.5 volts, I could keep this battery at that voltage for almost all of its life. That's the bad one there. Let's see, is it warm? just this cell here that I've been charging, it is warm. It's not hot, but it's just a tiny bit warmer than the rest. But I think this battery has a chance of coming back. Not 100%. It will not come back 100%. Sealed lead acids never do. But if I'm able to get this cell minimum 50%, I'm hoping to get at least 70 or 80%. Then this battery will be useful again. 50% and not too useful because this cell will die before the rest, and then if I keep draining it, all these cells will show power through this cell backwards and destroy it. But I think I will probably be able to get a decent amount out of this, but we'll find out. I'm about to switch it to 13 or 13.5 volts and 2 amps. And we'll see what happens tomorrow.